Hey everybody, Michaela Manfredo here. So I'm going to be talking about how to equalize music in my favorite genre, which is contemporary Christian music. So with mastering in general, contemporary Christian music, also known as CCM, typically utilizes specific instrumentation and effects, with the end goal being to create something that sounds grand, large, and ethereal. And the instrumentation and the processing used to create this sound needs to be mastered in such a way that emphasizes these elements and makes them translate to an audience. So CCM is unique sonically. Although all Christian music will vary from track to track, typically speaking, Christian music utilizes large groups of instruments to accomplish a large or anthemic sound. CCM will also often include larger reverb times during the mixing process to create the feel of a concert-going experience. With knowing this, the best approach to an anthemic type of Christian music would be to use a slightly longer attack and shorter release times when compressing. And so usually when Christian artists are taking equalizers into account, they usually choose to use analog mastering because they make the master sound fuller and large. However, when they do use digital plugins, there are important EQ techniques to keep in mind, and these rules are very similar to the videos that we recently watched on various EQs and the filters. So for this video, I will be focusing on an audio recording of my voice from a song that I've been working on writing and producing. And the song as a whole is very much expectant of what Christian music utilizes, which accomplishes an anthemic sound. There were little resources I could find on how to equalize in CCM music specifically. However, it is very much similar to modern pop. And so with this, I want to be able to get more clarity out of my voice. So the EQ that I'm going to use is the EQ8 to take advantage of the various EQ filter types. And I want to take into consideration two rules. So the first one is that we cut frequencies and we don't boost them, aka we remove the muddiness by cutting the low frequencies. And two, to always use a low cut filter on vocals. So I'm going to go ahead and put an EQ8 on my vocal. And so this is what it sounds like without it.
We were not meant to be accustomed to this
Let me go ahead
world.
and turn it up a little bit.
We were not meant to see
There we go.
through the eyes of man.
Now we're going to go back to our
And we must not let us fall into this sinful earth. We're called to live our whole lives proclaiming God's word.
Okay, so you get a feel for what it sounds like without an EQ8 on it yet. So for more vocal clarity, I'm going to add a low cut filter, aka a high pass filter, on the first note point to clean up my voice more. And this will keep the vocal track out of the subwoofers and will reserve space for other instruments along the way, such as when I add bass guitar or a kick drum later on in the process. So I'm going to go ahead and change this. There we go. So now now I'm going to use a bell curve or a peak filter in the second note point to boost the frequency around this frequency point a little bit. So let me go ahead, and it's already on there, great. So for the third note point, I'm going to use a notch filter to cut the range of frequency and to create an interesting tonal shaping effect. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. And with the second one, I'm going to raise it just a tad. There we go. And so then last, I'm going to have the fourth node point as the high shelf filter to gradually reduce the high end frequency without cutting it off completely. So it's already on there, and I am just going to lower it just a little bit. There we go. So let's see how that sounds so far.
We were not meant to be accustomed to this world.
Okay, so let's see what it sounds like when it's off and on. I'm going to go to a different part in the song one that's a little bit more powerful and doesn't have as
Disciple
many,
make,
that doesn't have as many pauses.
and it's the voice of the disciple maker, and it's the voice of the movement starter, and it's the voice of the church planter, and it's the voice of the prayer warrior, and it's the voice of the injustice fighter.
I'm kind of going just back and forth in between turning the EQA on and off just so you can get a feel for what it sounds like with the EQA on. So as you can tell, when it's on, it definitely gives my voice way more clarity, and it gets rid of a lot of the like airiness and breathiness in the background of my vocals, and it takes some of the higher frequencies and lowers it a little bit so it sounds much more professional. So I'm going to go ahead and stop talking so you can actually hear the rest of this part, and so you can experience what it sounds like with and without the EQA on.
We were not meant to be a customer, and it's the voice of the prayer warrior, and it's the voice of the injustice fighter, and it's the voice of the public leader, and we will proclaim that comfort will fall, and we will
So there we go. That's all I have for you. Thank you for watching.